Hey, how you doing? Brian Cain, host of the Mental Performance Mastery podcast here, and couldn't be more excited to be joined by teammates and friends, Donovan Santas, Charlie Jodka, and Zach Sorensen with Pison. Today, we're going to talk about a tool that can quantify the mental game. Zach, I know that's something that you've been grinding on and working on for a long time since your days as a Major League Baseball player, and now a guy that's the head of mental performance with the Cincinnati Reds. You've had time as a mental performance coach also with the Atlanta Braves, with the Texas Rangers. And one of the things that you and I, as colleagues have always talked about is how do we quantify the mental game? It's not like we can put up a radar gun. It's not like we can put a speed monitor or force monitor on a bar and see if we're making progress. And you've been trying to solve that for years, and it sounds like you have. Talk to us about quantifying the mental game, Zach Sorensen. Thanks for being here.
Man, we're so excited to be here today. We can't wait for this podcast, this call, because you heard it right. Like we feel like we figured out how we can quantify the mental game. And it's been a challenge. One of our coaches' biggest challenge, a mental performance coach's biggest challenge is how do we quantify the mental game? How do we put a number to the mindset? How do we put a number to your mental game, and how do you do it? Well, Pison we feel like we've done that. It's how can we put a number to our mental readiness? We always talk about, Cain, or you and I, everybody who works in the mental game, that measurement is motivation. Okay, so we feel like we have done that. We feel like Pison has done that. And now we're excited to bring it to you to say, hey, here it is for you as coaches to take to your athletes. Here it is for you as athletes to be able to put a number to where are you at right now? Where is your mindset right now before a game starts? Let's put a number to it so you can say, here is my mindset. Here is my mental state. Here is my mental readiness. And now where do I take it from where it is right now to where it needs to be by game time?
Yeah, and measurement's motivation, right? And data doesn't lie. So when you have that data, you get a baseline, and then you can make progress. So talk to us about kind of how you do that.
Yeah, well, I think this is pretty cool. So as I started thinking about my career as a player, and we always do that. Okay, how did this get started? Where does it come from? Mom and dad used to take me to the ball game when I was 7, 8, 9 years old. Even when I was a high school player, I even remember when I got called into the major leagues. They always asked me the same question: are you ready to go? Are you ready to play? Like, think about that. Like, everybody on this call right here is thinking back to when they were playing. I mean, Kaner, when you got dropped off of the field, when you were playing, are you ready to go? That is a question that was asked and is asked to every single athlete at whatever age they are.
Well,
Okay.
the mindset is when you're always ready, you never have to get ready, but we know that you got to be able to actually have a way to measure readiness, right?
Exactly. And I love that you said that. Okay. But what is that based on?
Right, right.
Like, we tell ourselves that.
Yeah, it's based on self-talk, not data and fact, which is if you can quantify it, you should.
Exactly. Okay. It's based on it's based on a strategy that Brian Cain has taught you.
Huh, you sure?
Okay, self-talk. Yeah, that's what it is. But here's what's pretty cool about what Pison has done. Like, we have 3 tests, which are first of a kind. Okay. And test number 1 is a readiness test.
Hmm.
It is going to tell you if you are ready, okay, and where your score is compared to your baseline. It's a readiness test to let you know where you are at. Okay. And like you said, measurement is motivation. Let's measure it. We measure everything else we do in sport. Every single thing we do in sport, we measure, except for our readiness and our mindset. And now we have a way where we can actually measure our readiness. It's the very first time we can measure our cognitive state. And that's why we're so pumped and so excited about this. In fact, we've been so excited about this, Kaner. You've been saying on your podcast, Mental Performance Daily, for the past year, okay, first of its kind, here it comes. And everyone's been calling you saying, what is this thing all about? Well, now we're excited to bring it to you right now and say, hey, here it is. It's ready to go. Let's do it.
Well, and I will tell you, Zach, that the exciting piece here is that you know, there has for a long time been a gap in mental performance. And as a mental performance coach and somebody that's written a certification on mental performance and has mentored a lot of mental performance coaches and is dedicated his life to mental performance, you're always trying to move the field forward. And one of the ways that we've wanted to move the field forward is how do we make it more objective instead of subjective? And how do we create a measurement that can determine readiness, mental performance, cognitive state? And here we are. So this is the forefront of mental performance and cognitive training. And man, I'm excited to bring Charlie on to show us in video. So if you're listening to this on the Apple or Spotify podcast feed, we're going to link to the YouTube video below so that you can actually jump over and listen to this, and see what Charlie's about to show us here with the app. So Charlie, man, if you want to share your screen and walk us through the Pison app to give us kind of a tutorial as to how do we test this readiness, right? How do we use the app as a way to help us with performance? That will be awesome.
Well, I was going to say is what I'm going to have Charlie do first and foremost is we're going to do this right in front of you. We're going to have Charlie actually take a reaction time test right in front of us right here, right now. Okay, because a readiness test is based on a reaction time score. And when Mark Deschaines, who's our VP of the region for us, he came to me and he said, "Hey, reaction time. Think about that. Does that relate to sports? Yes or no?" And I'm like, "It is everything when it comes to sports." He's like, "Well, we have a way to test your reaction time. Our second test is like it's a go no go test. It's how quickly can you make the correct decision." I'm like, well, that's everything in sports. Like, think about baseball. How quickly can we recognize spin on a pitch? That's everything for our hitters. That is everything. And then our third test is a focus test. Well, of course, if we can't focus, we can't play. So we're going to have Charlie right now in front of everybody here who's watching this take a reaction time test, which is going to determine your readiness and how ready you are to play in a game. So Charlie, if you don't mind, if you'll go ahead and take a readiness reaction time test for us here on screen, I'd love to show everybody what we do at Pison.
Absolutely. So I'm just going to share my screen here. And the important thing is this is what we're talking about right here, this Pison device. And so this device has a unique neural sensor in it that's going to be able to detect the nerves running through my wrist, coming down from my brain, telling my hand to open. So essentially what happens here is you can see we're on our main mind tab of the Pison app here. I'm just going to queue up a readiness test. It's going to take 30 seconds. So it's going to give me 9 lights right here. And Zach can sort of talk about what's happening right here as I react to this white light.
Yeah, so this is pretty cool right here. As you look at Charlie's wrist right here, on the wrist, you're seeing a white light that is flashing on the wrist. And immediately that light's going to go into Charlie's eyes and into his brain. And his brain is saying fire, okay? Fire. So every time he sees that white stimuli, all right, his brain is saying fire. And we're measuring how long it takes for that stimuli to get into his eyes, into his brain, and how long it takes for him to fire at his wrist. And that is a reaction time test, okay? Now, when somebody gets this device, they're going to take 3 of these tests, which gets them a baseline, all right? And then Charlie right here, this is his test score in this real-time example that he gave right here, 132 milliseconds. And if you look just below this, and I'll let Charlie take over and explain this, that says it's 6% faster than his baseline score. So
that's what happens when you listen to Mental Performance Mastery podcast, Zach.
6% faster and get you ready to go.
That's
Charlie
right.
obviously is fired up and ready to go right now because he's talking to BC Brian Cain. Let's go. Go ahead, Charlie. You're on.
So what's going to happen after I take a readiness test, right? I can tell that I'm 8% below, so that's good, right? But what if I'm a few percent above, right? Then I have to do something about it. So we sort of go through this process here after the readiness test. It's going to ask me what my mood is. So I'm in a great mood right now.
Yes, he is.
I'm maximum motivation right now, of course, right? But it's also going to ask me sort of what's happening right now. So what's going on in my life? What are the lifestyle factors? What are the habits and routines that I'm undergoing? What am I doing? Is it pregame? Is it late night? Am I indoors? You can create your own tags here. We of course have our predefined ones too, but let's say I'm, drank some caffeine, I'm working, it's indoors light. I don't have a podcast option. I wish I did, and we'll continue here. And basically, so what that'll do, and I'll allow Donovan to talk a little bit about this, but we have our cognitive insights. And so what's going to happen here is it's going to basically correlate those lifestyle factors to what's going on with my mental performance. So where my mental performance is right now, once I get a certain number of tests and a certain number of tags on there, it's going to tell me that impacts my mental performance in this way. So for me, I'm still building out these insights here. The top 2 I have that increase my mental performance is when I'm working, which is kind of what I want, to be honest. When I'm home, you can see down there, -4%, which for me works out. When I'm home, I sort of want to be turned off a little bit, more relaxing. When I'm at work, I'm locked in, right? So Donovan, you want to sort of talk about the impact that this has?
Yeah, I think this is the biggest question we get from anyone that we're interacting about with the product is, okay, I take a test, I get my baseline, I see where I am in the moment. Now what? What do I do with it? And I think that's our secret weapon that sets us apart from a lot of the other wearables out there where you sleep, you get your sleep, you recover, your strain, all that stuff. and you get a recovery score in the morning. And it's like, if it sucks, now I have to self-talk myself all day into, well, I still have to play tonight. And then after you get enough of that negative feedback from your wearable every single day, you're like, you know what? I don't want this anymore. This is not productive for me.
Real.
With this,
very real.
With this, on the other hand, now you can take control of your day. You can take control of your plan. You can have a plan. You can be like, you can wake up. I got not enough sleep last night. My recovery score is low. My reaction time is low. I can take action. I can go about my day and I can take action, and I can tag things throughout the day as I go. I can cold plunge. I can sauna. I can do a mobility. I can do a meditation. I can do a warm up. All the things that, as a strength coach, that I've done for 25 years, getting guys ready to play every single day. Now we can quantify that throughout the day. How is each one of those interventions affecting you, and is it positive or negative? And a personal revelation that I've had just from using this device is I've been a bit of a caffeine junkie, for most of my life, and it's become something that I've kind of relied on throughout the day, most every single day. And as I've taken these tests and I tag it every time I have caffeine, my test scores are pretty negative. And I'm like, what the heck? And so there's only been a couple times where I've self-limited, caffeine, and I've really felt a lot better. So it is proof. Like, it does show you in the moment, where you're at, and cognitively, not just physically.
Yeah, and that's very counterintuitive to what most people would think, right? Most people would think that, me included, as a guy who's at the time of this recording 500 milligrams deep, that's 5 cups of coffee already today. Good. It's before noon. My caffeine cutoff is noon. There's no limit to how much I get before then. But being a caffeine junkie myself, which I've actually cut back extremely. But yeah, you'd think the caffeine, and you take that and it would improve your reaction time, would improve you and get you ready to go. And I think everyone's going to have probably a baseline, change to what's happening. But the thing that I like is, you said, I want to go back to something that you said that I think is a mic drop of athletes. And we all work with professional athletes. And it's for people that are here. Donovan has been a strength coach in Major League Baseball. Zach is a mental performance coach in Major League Baseball. So the athletes I've worked with, and this goes NFL, NHL, UFC, Major League Baseball, it's across the board, is when they wear an Oura or they wear a Whoop and they get a readiness score and they don't like the readiness score, it messes with them mentally. And if I had worked with 100 athletes, 80 plus of them have said to me, well, I don't wear my wearable anymore because when I get that data, it messes with me and puts me into a red light that I don't think I can perform that day because I'm in a fatigue state and I still got to go do it. So I don't even want to know. And that's the difference with Pison, that you get a readiness score and then you can go do something about it, measure it, track it. And that, my friends, delivers what we call goosebumps, because now you're changing mental performance. Donovan, unpack that a little bit more in terms of maybe the protocol that you've seen athletes do that helps improve readiness, like Charlie was talking about.
Yeah, I think you nailed it spot on. It's less of a negative feedback, my day is screwed, and more of a now what? Now what? And so the things that we've done and we've tested and we've tried internally with athletes and everywhere else are all of the things that you would typically expect. It's going to be a good warm up. It's going to be elevating the heart rate. In some circumstances, some people respond really well to cold therapy. Usually everyone responds really well to natural sunlight. There's a typical list of things across the board that most people respond positively. And kind of like in everything else, the more of those bricks you can lay throughout the day, the more you're going to steadily improve as you go. But the one thing, there is one thing that we have noticed that had a really significant effect on the most athletes that we worked with, and that is if you can connect a mind body event together and have some side of a heart rate component to it as well. So like we noticed with jump rope, where there's a rhythmic coordination skill movement where there's a mind body connection, and even agility ladder where again there's a rhythmic mind body coordination connection, connecting the mind to the body in a rhythmic and coordinated manner seems to really, really positively affect reaction time.
the ladder drills, jump rope, right? These are things that any athlete, any level can do. I mean, my 3-year-old daughter does ladder drills with dad in the garage, you know? So you're doing, say that again. How did you say that, Donovan? Rhythmic?
Yeah, so a coordinated
Yeah.
rhythmic mind-body connection that where there's a heart rate component typically. There doesn't have to be, but this is where as coaches, and I think there are a lot of coaches that listen to this, that is where your mind can kind of explore the avenues of this, you know, and I think when we talked about this to you earlier, you brought up juggling. I think that's a fantastic, you know, there's a coordinated rhythmic mind-body connection there. But as a coach, this is where you can kind of explore and really and go to the ends here and find what is best for your athletes or your group and really see how it impacts them.
The
Yeah, I think that
coordinated rhythmic. Sorry, Zach, go ahead.
no, I just, I think this is pretty special. Let me kind of tie all this and bring this back together for everybody who's listening. Kane, you hit the nail on the head with this. You know, a lot of our players who are with the Cincinnati Reds or other Major League Baseball players that we're working with, they get provided, these other devices that they get to wear. They put them on because they want to know how their sleep was last night. You can't go back and change your sleep. You can't go back and re-sleep. You can't do it. So they get their scores, and if they're great, they look at them, they're like, sweet, nicely done. When they go, but if they don't get the score that they want, like, what do you do about that? What does that mean? Okay. With Pison, you test and see what your readiness is in the current state, the present moment, which to me, that's the mental game. It's how we are in the present moment. Okay. Well, guess what? Guess what Brian Cain does for you? Guess what all you mental performance coaches do? You provide strategies to get our athletes into the present moment and get them to be their very best in the present moment. If my readiness score that you just took, that Charlie just took, your reaction time score is slower than your baseline, instead of saying, I'm not going to play well tonight, guess what you do? You intervene. You have an intervention. Okay. What does cold plunge do to you? Go take a cold plunge, take a reaction time test before your cold plunge, take another one after it, and take one 15 minutes later, and now see where you're at. You can retest again throughout the course of a day, and that is the difference. You will get yourself to a space to where you are in a state of readiness for your game, and that is the difference. So first, awareness. Kainer, you say this all the time. You said it yesterday on your podcast. Awareness, strategy, action. You have to have awareness.
Yeah.
Number one. So where am I at right now? Okay. Then what is my strategy to get myself back to my baseline or to my perfect mental state? That is what we coach all day long in the mental game. That is what we do.
Hmm.
What is the strategy? And then I need to go take action to get myself back and ready to go.
Hmm. Zach, I love the idea of what's the strategy, right? And I've always said, like, sweat before screens. The reason why I sweat before screens is not because I like working out at 4:30 in the morning. It's because of what it does for me cognitively the rest of the day so I can perform, right? But I'm not doing jump roping or ladder drills, but I'm going to add that into my routine probably at the end of my workout because I want to get that coordinated rhythmic mind and body with a heart rate spike going so that I'm at my best and performing my best. So the fact that we can prove that with data is a game changer. Charlie, if we can, I want to come back to you and have you share your screen again because I think, for people to see it, right? It's like a picture's worth 1,000 words. Charlie sharing his screen is now worth a thousand, whatever, 1,000 something. So Charlie, walk us through more of this app. You talked about the mind. Let's take a look at the body and fatigue, if you could.
Absolutely. So we do the same thing that other wearables do, right? We provide all those body and sleep stats that are just so important, right? We just elevate it with the mental performance. So this new tab that we're building right here focuses on HRV, right? It's going to be my body readiness. And Donovan can talk about this way more at length than I ever could. But, so I didn't get great HRV last night, right? I got to be better, right? So, but at the same time, we have our strain and recovery. So standard stats that everybody is used to, I can sort of see my past week. I can see where I am according to my goals, how that correlates to my sleep. And then I can come over here. I can see my sleep efficiency, how much of the time that I was in bed last night was I actually asleep, right? All this valuable stuff that a lot of people are familiar with, but I think that we're doing this sort of in a new and interesting way. And in our app, we also build in a lot of info, help people sort of that mental coaching aspect where it's sort of, you understand what you're looking at. We don't want people to sort of see all these stats. There's a lot of stats and numbers, a million ways to measure these things. We want to sort of explain how we do it and why that makes sense, right? So I can go down here. I got my sleep phases, circadian compliance, how well I'm complying with my ordinary sleep time and wake time and all that. So then that all comes back and ties into, of course, our mental performance here.
Yeah, and I think just from a simplicity standpoint, right? I mean, if you click back on the body tab,
Yep.
being able to see, you know, what was my strain, what's my recovery, and if you scroll down there, Charlie, where it shows strain and recovery, you can see what the strain is, you can see where the recovery is, and if you click on the sleep piece again, we can see, okay, what was my efficiency? What was my total sleep? What was my total sleep need? Click on the total sleep details. I want to take a look in kind of behind the curtain here a little bit more of this and see, boom. So, so there's, you shows you like that sleep debt, and it shows you how much restorative sleep you're getting, the combined REM and deep. So there's a lot of data that's in here that you're getting from other wearables. You're just not getting the readiness and the how do I improve that with the other wearables. So Donovan, let's come to you, as a guy that's been responsible for readiness as a strength and conditioning coach on the physical side. This is fascinating. We got you on the physical side, Zach on the mental side, both at the major league level. How do you see this app helping players with their performance and readiness, and also monitoring recovery, which is so important as you know from being in the league?
Yeah, no, I think just getting instant feedback on we know that there's so much information out about sleep now. I think a long time ago it was a much bigger onion to peel. I think now the athlete is much more educated and knows many more of the specific things that they can do to improve their sleep. So being able to see these metrics in real time, what is your sleep efficiency? When you get in bed and you fall asleep to when you wake up, how much of the time are you asleep? That is really valuable information. How much are you tossing and turning? And then on top of it, we know that if you are going to be in bed, if you can spend the majority of it in restorative sleep, deep or REM, that is the biggest recovery tool that you can find. So even if you're only going to get 5 hours, if 4 of those are in deep recovery sleep, that is huge. And so that will directly impact your recovery score, and it's huge for HRV. The other thing that's really cool on the front page there is the cognitive pattern. You can take 5 tests in each 2-hour window across the entire day, readiness tests that is, and based off of that, you'll get a better understanding of your readiness throughout the day based off of your circadian rhythm. So, what times during the day are you at your peak readiness, and what days do you tend to be a little bit slower? And you'll understand that a little better and be like, man, why is it every time I show up the field, I just feel like I'm dragging? Or why is it, that every morning I feel like this? And you'll start to understand your circadian rhythm and your readiness pattern throughout the day. It doesn't mean that you're going to immediately change it, but it does mean that you can deliberately put some interventions into those windows. Or, if you're an athlete in the off season, you can specifically train in certain time frames that you are at your peak. And you can be, like, I'm going to go to the cage. I'm going to go to the do my workout at 4 o'clock in the afternoon today, because that is when, I'm typically at my peak readiness, as opposed to, 10 a.m. in the morning when it's convenient or something like that.
Donovan, you mentioned something about cognitive insights that I want to come back to, and like how and what you do throughout the day, how does that affect your reaction time? And is the Pison app like tracking that?
We're passively tracking everything that you would expect. So heart rate, steps, calories, and things like that. The only way you're going to know what the cognitive insights is if you deliberately tag what you're doing. So if I just had lunch and and then I take a test, I would want to tag that because, typically, digestion is going to slow us down and make us a little bit slower and things like that. Caffeine, for some, it's going to speed us up. For some, it's going to, have a different type of effect. Again, warm up, and anything that can impact you, throughout the day, or anything that you've currently done, that might impact your physiology specifically.
And I know one of the ways that we can test that too, right, is with a go, no go test. And I know, Charlie, that was something that I was going to have you kind of role play and show for us. So if you can share your screen again and take us through that go, no go test and show us exactly how that works. And maybe Zach, you can talk about, how that is, or why that is important as Charlie's doing that.
Yeah, this is awesome. This is our second number test. It's the mental agility test. And it's interesting. A lot of our players are doing this before they get like in a batting cage. Okay. So what Charlie's doing here, it's exactly the same setup. It's a little bit longer test, about 60 seconds. He's getting a white light, which is a go, and a orange light, which is a do nothing. Okay. So he's firing on white and doing nothing on orange. Now, this is how quickly can you make a correct decision? And so for our hitters, especially in baseball, okay, they're treating this like fastball slider. So I'm
Yeah.
swinging at a fastball. I'm not swinging at a slider. And it's really interesting as our hitters do this. Like they are absolutely loving this. When I sit around a table, like in a major league clubhouse, you guys are like, what is going on here? What are you doing? And before you know it, everyone wants to take this test. They're competing against each other. And it initially it's very frustrating for them because they swing and miss or they're check swinging a lot. All right. But what is awesome about this is you can get better at this test. This is a test that you can get better every single time you take it. The more you practice it, you get better at this mental agility, and you want to get better at it. Okay. How quickly can you make the correct decision? So at the end of this test, what you're going to see here is you're getting this is a dual test. It's testing how quickly you are getting the test done and how accurate you're getting. Charlie, that's an awesome score, man. Look at that. Look at you go right now. Like this is awesome right here.
Man.
Typical,
Oh,
his
you just
typical
need
range.
to be in podcast, be on the podcast daily, and take your performance in life to another level, brother.
Look, his typical score range is 55 to 71. He just scored an 80, which is awesome right here. So, but it's how accurate are you and how your speed and how quickly you do this. Okay, so
And if I'm understanding this right, the main takeaway here is, let's say Charlie's a baseball player and it's an hour before game time. He does that test and goes, "Man, I'm below baseline." Well, what can I do? Can I go ladder, jump rope, something with that rhythmic and tied in cardio that Donovan was talking about? Can I go get a cryo if we have one at the stadium? Can I go get a cold plunge? Can I get a cold shower? Can I do something that I already know is going to help me because I have predetermined the intervention, the go-to to get me where I need to be? I go, let's say, do some ladder, some jump rope, cold shower, back in, boom, suit back up, hit my readiness again. Now I'm above baseline. Let's go wear somebody out.
yeah, absolutely. Now think about this, Cainer. So let's say that Vladimir Guerrero Jr. actually has one of these. He's excited to test it out and try it out. Let's say that he has the day off out there playing for the Toronto Blue Jays, and he's not going to play today. But the game's tight, the game's close, and they're like, "Hey, Vladdy, go grab a bat, go get ready. You're going to pinch hit next inning." So he goes into the tunnel. Now, a lot of guys that are getting ready to go pinch hit, what do? They go get on a exercise bike. Okay, and they do this, which is great. I mean, they're getting their body ready to go, but we have never before done anything to get our minds ready to go. Like, what are we doing to get our brains ready to go hit? Are we doing anything to like test to see to make sure that our eyes and our mind is ready to go? What if you were to go do a go no go test first thing, or while you're riding the exercise bike, do a go no go test to get your mind firing? Like, are you going to be in a better mental state after you do a go no go test? Absolutely. Think about that. Like we've never done anything before to get our mind ready to go. Take a readiness test, do a go no go test. Are you going to be in a better mindset to go swing the bat? 100%. And that's what is so exciting to me about what Pison is doing for us.
Well, what's connecting a lot of dots, right? And this is these aha moments. Is I'm on a call with a player yesterday in the major leagues, right? And this guy is having the best career of his year. Granted, it's the middle of April, so we're a month in. There's a lot to go, but he's having the best start to his career ever. That's significant. And we asked, he's like, "Man, I'm not playing every day. What do you do to get ready to hit? What's your routine?" And my thought is, well, the first 3 innings of the game, you go down to the tunnel underneath, and you're taking an at bat off of the traject machine or whatever it is you have. And so you're getting your 3 at bats, so that by the 4th to the 9th inning, like if you pinch hit, it's not you haven't gone 3 hours since you touched your bat. This guy's a catcher, right? So he's warming up pitchers and doing other stuff. He's not hitting, and he's for hitting when he first gets to the stadium at 4 o'clock. He's not touching the bat again until he pinch hits in the 7th inning. So I never thought about go down underneath and do some jump rope. And if you don't have a rope, just phantom jump rope. You don't need an actual rope. Just do the rhythmic movement or an agility ladder or something like that. Because if they're on the road, they may not have access to a cage. That's one of the things he talked about. He's like, "Hey, when we're in Minnesota, I got to walk 3 minutes to get to the cage. I might not have that much time." Right. So, but can you go down and can you do something, agility ladder, whatever it is, to get yourself ready to go? So, I mean, groundbreaking, man, and on the forefront of mental performance measurement, quantifying the mental game and cognitive performance, really good. I mean, Charlie, Zach mentioned Vladimir Guerrero Jr., one of the Major League Baseball stars that is working with Pison and using the device. Is there anybody else that you can talk about that maybe has used the device? I know I've had, one of your athletes, Anthony Alfredo, on here, the NASCAR driver who's doing fantastic. Is there anybody else that is using Pison that our audience might be able to, follow as well?
100%. Yeah. So we're bringing on some really, talented guys, both in baseball, but all sports. In baseball, we've got a few really great young talents. We've got Connor Griffin. He's the number 2 prospect with the Pittsburgh Pirates, first round pick last year. He's using it, loving it. And I mean, you'll see on our social medias, he talks about the benefit it has for his sleep patterns, how he notices how he performs the next day mentally. We also have Max Clark, top prospect with the Tigers, right? We actually got off call with him the other day, and he's telling us stories about how before he gets in the cage, it's an agility test, right? He's using that as a primer to go hit before he gets on the field. We also have JJ Weatherholt, top prospect with the Cardinals. He's in Double-A now. He's one of those guys I love telling his story because, not the most physically imposing guy coming up through the draft, but at West Virginia, I mean, I think it was his sophomore year, he led the country in hitting. And he's just one of those guys, just always gets the barrel on the ball. Really low whiff rate, really high barrel rate. And it sort of makes sense because when you look at his Python scores, his reaction time, it's elite, right? It's 99th percentile. We've got guys across sports. We've got Anthony Alfredo, NASCAR driver, right? Quick reactions, pretty important there, obviously. Darrelle Revis in football. We're sort of adding these names, these guys that are really getting excited about this and really helping getting the word out so people understand, the value of this and really what we're doing.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just going to share my screen real quick and let people see like Anthony Alfredo, right? NASCAR driver talking about how Pison has allowed him to make discoveries about himself and as a person and athlete that he didn't know to help him operate at an elite level. You know, to Mark Budzinski, who we've had here on Mental Performance Podcast. He's a first base coach with the Toronto Blue Jays, right? Talking about how it's a separator. And as a coach, there's nothing better than a device that can actually give me immediate feedback. That's the difference. Immediate feedback on players so I can help them perform at their best. And then the mayor can't have a podcast without mentioning the mayor, Sean Casey, talking about how Pison's measurements can weaponize, right, and be a game changer for interventions that create the results we all desire. Sean Casey, being a lifetime 300 hitter, knows something about reaction time, and being a hitting coach with the New York Yankees knows something about reaction time. So I think, the Pison is on the forefront of cognitive performance. It's on the forefront of bringing measurements to mental performance and quantifying the mental game. And, I'm excited to be aligned with you guys and partner with you guys on using the app to help bring mental game into another stratosphere. It's no longer just, hey, I'm going to talk with my players. It's like, we're going to assess, just like a strength coach, we're going to assess. We're going to provide measurements and we're going to provide drills and we're going to provide strategies, exercises to do, and then we're going to retest. And if we do the test and the protocol and we retest and there's no performance, we need to adjust the protocol. And if we do the protocol, the test, the protocol, and there's improvement, we're going to keep going forward because data don't lie. And I couldn't be more excited about what Pison is bringing to the field of mental performance with being able to quantify the mental game. Parting thoughts, anything else that you guys want to share before we wrap it up here? We'll go Charlie, we'll go Donovan, we'll finish up with Zach Sorensen. Charlie, any parting thoughts here?
Yeah, I think, you've been talking about Python for a while and sort of talking about how, we've been building this great thing, sort of slowly telling people about it. And we really feel like this is now the time that, this is the time for people to start looking at this as this is how you optimize your mental performance and be ready for the game. And when I think about, especially like the brand ambassadors that we work with, anybody who's a top athlete, I don't know why you wouldn't want to test where you are, right? Are you going to go through your game and through your season without knowing that? Without that knowledge. And so we talk about it all the time. We think it's a separator, both in baseball, but all sports. And really for anybody, this is a catchphrase we use, anybody who uses their mind, right? So it goes beyond sports and goes beyond everything. So we're super excited.
Open the floodgates. Watch out. Pison's coming. Donovan, we're going to you. Question. Can athletes wear this in a game?
Yeah, they can. It is in-game proof for certain sports, and so obviously you're going to take all the precautions that you can and should, depending on what sport you're playing. But yeah, certainly.
Awesome. Donovan, any parting thoughts here?
Yeah, no, it's always been a mission of mine as a strength coach, performance director to empower the people that I worked with, and I feel like that's exactly what this tool does. It gives you the ability to see where you're at in the moment, but then also the power and the ability to see, what you can do to change that for the positive. You don't have to be stuck in a bad place. You have the power and the ability to move out of there, and then get objective data to prove it.
Awesome. And Zach, mental performance coach with the Cincinnati Reds, been with the Braves, been with the Rangers, played in the major leagues, statue of you outside of Wichita State Stadium dominating the day. Let's go. Any parting thoughts for you, Zach? I love that you got murdered out in all black today. Thank you for doing that.
All black because of Cainer. That's right. Less decisions to make in the morning. Hey, I'm so fired up, man. I'm really excited about this. Why measurements, motivation, and feelings aren't facts. But the biggest thing is this, is what are we going to do about it? We're going to figure out where we're at, and then we're going to figure out what we're going to do about it. So last year I'm flying home. I just got done with the Cincinnati Reds. My flight lands at midnight. I get to bed at 12:45 in the morning. My alarm goes off at 4:45. Why? Because that's our process. We're not going to change the process because we're tired. I get up, I take a reaction time test, and it says that I'm 14% below baseline, as you might expect. I got a workout to go to. Is it going to be a good workout? Well, I don't know because I don't listen to my feelings. Immediately, I take a pre-workout with 200 milligrams of caffeine. Yeah, of course I do. I drive to the gym, which is a 7-minute drive. I get a good warm-up. I'm sweating just a little bit before I start my workout. I retest, and I'm 1% faster than my baseline. What does that do to you mentally?
Confidence.
Immediately, it's confidence. Measurement is motivation. Where's my motivation right now? I'm going to crush this workout. Think about what that does to you as a player. Think about what that does to your players if you're a coach. We have a way not only to measure where you're at mentally, but also a way to give your athletes confidence because we can now have awareness of where we are at. As mental performance coaches, this is what we've been waiting for. Totally. Because now our strategies are going to get our players back to green light. Yeah. We're going to get our players into that state where they want to be at all times. Man, I'm super excited. I want everybody to get on the train, get on the wagon, man. We're excited about this. I can't wait for you to get this in your hands.
I mean, just the reaction time test. If I can improve reaction time, sold. If I can do a go, no-go test to make sure that I'm ready to see and react to what I see as a baseball player, sold. But you're also giving me HRV data and you're giving me sleep score. There's a lot of wearables out there. There's only one Pison. Appreciate you guys being here, dominating the day. If anybody's interested in learning more, I'm going to give you a call to action. I'm going to put it in the show notes. It's real easy. go.pison.com/Brian Cain. That's go.pison.com/Brian Cain. And you're going to get 10% off when you use the coupon code BCAIN2025. Dominate the day. Charlie, Zach, Donovan, thank you guys for being here. Let's unlock your mind, unlock your potential, and let's dominate the day. Thanks for being here.